At the heart of the Persian Gulf lies a narrow waterway that holds the world's economy hostage, the Strait of Hormuz. Through this strategic corridor flows nearly 20% of the world's oil. And now, with tensions between Iran and Israel reaching a boiling point, threats to block this artery could trigger global chaos. The Strait of Hormuz connects the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman and beyond that, the Arabian Sea. It's barely 21 miles wide at its narrowest point, yet it carries the energy lifeline of major global powers. Nations like Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar, and Kuwait depend on it daily to export oil and gas. In recent weeks, Iranian officials, though not from its highest leadership, have alluded to the possibility of disrupting the strait. While not unprecedented, the timing and intensity of these threats now carry far more weight. Why? Because open conflict between Iran and Israel is no longer hypothetical. Experts warn this is not mere posturing. Claude Moniquet, former French intelligence officer, states that oil prices could surge by up to 50% within hours if the strait is blocked. Imagine this. Within hours, oil prices spike globally. Europe faces energy shortages. Asian markets plunge. Gasoline prices soar. The world's most critical shipping route suddenly becomes a war zone. The consequences would ripple through every economy, every household. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has an estimated 20,000 naval personnel. They're trained to mine sea lanes, launch sea-to-sea missiles, and board foreign ships. They've done it before, and they could do it again. But experts like Meir Litvak call such a move suicidal. Any direct aggression in Hormuz would almost certainly trigger a US and possibly European military response. So what would the response look like? According to Moniquet, Western powers would act without hesitation. Even Arab nations, despite recent tensions with the West, would likely join in. Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, the UAE, and Qatar all depend on this narrow passage. A blockade isn't just a red line. It's a declaration of war. In Washington, the mood remains cautious. Americans are weary of foreign interventions. The scars of Iraq and Afghanistan run deep. Democrats largely oppose military escalation. Republicans are divided. And then there's Donald Trump. He's unpredictable. Strategic ambiguity has become his hallmark. "Nobody knows what I'll do," he said recently. But many experts believe that behind the scenes, intervention plans are already on the table. What about alternatives? Could we reroute oil supplies? Not really. There are pipelines from the UAE and Saudi Arabia, but they can't handle the full capacity. There is no real substitute for the Strait of Hormuz. As Moniquet put it bluntly, there is no way to expedite the oil at the same scale through pipelines. With severe economic sanctions and increasing internal unrest, is the Iranian regime close to collapse? Not exactly. Experts say Tehran still believes its people will rally behind it in the name of nationalism and resistance. Litvak argues that the regime is betting it can outlast its enemies, especially in a prolonged standoff. So is Iran's threat to block the Strait of Hormuz its final move, or just a calculated bluff? That remains to be seen. But one thing is clear. The strait is no longer just a maritime passage. It is a fuse. And if it's lit, the explosion will be global. The world is watching. The Strait of Hormuz is a symbol of how one narrow passage can determine the fate of billions. Diplomacy, deterrence, or disaster. The next move may decide the course of history.